2, 1. Okay, welcome to the second podcast of There Is Only One Truth. So we've passed the premiere, we passed the pilot, and we're into the actual podcast series. Tommy, hit it!
Welcome to the One Truth Podcast. There is only one truth, self-development through insight. We gain wisdom and understanding, leading to self-actualization and ultimately enlightenment. I am one of your hosts, Tommy, and this is my mentor and co-host, Tony. How you doing, Tony?
Thank you, Tommy. And I want to touch on something. Tommy calls me his mentor, and I certainly appreciate that. And that is, I'm not going to deny, that's a dynamic of our relationship. But truly, we are good friends. And that's the core relationship we have. Anything else is not maybe peripheral or grows from it, but the core of it is that we are good friends, and we have a simpatico, we have a connection of Zen and other things in common, such as punk rock.
Yes.
We both consider ourselves punk rockers, even though we're middle-aged men. I don't go to shows anymore. Tommy, when was the last time you were at a show, punk show?
A punk show? Oh, wow. I can't even recall, man.
To me,
I can't even...
being a punk rocker is simply going by the beat of your own drummer, and that's what qualifies me as a punk rocker. Yeah, it helps to be into the music, but I'm not even into the music these days at all. It's and quite frankly, you'll find if you're familiar with punk rock, a lot of the people in the punk rock scene, they don't go by the beat of their own drummer. They're going by the beat of the drummers around them.
Yeah.
It is very ironic. There's that irony again that in punk rock, which positions itself as this non-conformist movement, is very conformist, very, very.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And
I remember now. Real quickly, it was in 2012. I went to it was either Webster Hall or I think it doesn't matter where it was, but it was Sick of It All, Mouthpiece, Chain of Strength, and a couple of other bands. So there was like two really good legendary straight edge bands, and then Sick of It All wrapped it up. It was the Revelation Records 25th anniversary.
I was never into any of those bands, but I know they were very but that's not my style. Like New York hardcore style, I only like some of it. I don't like that really beat down stuff. I like to have a nice melody. Like, for example, Tommy is wearing a hat that says, "Can I Say?" That comes from one of our all-time favorite bands that we have in common, called Dag Nasty, and that was an album and a song, and it's actually one of my all-time favorite bands and albums too. What about you, Tom?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's definitely it's in my top 4.
It's considered like the beginning of emo. They call it emo back then.
Yeah.
I never even heard of emo until the 90s, but that came out like the mid 80s, and that was just great. To me, it was just melodic punk rock.
Yeah, a lot of hardcore.
But there's a lot to be said about punk rock. If you're really looking for an aggressive expression or outlet, check it out. It has. That's what it has for sure. But in terms of being, expressing yourself freely, be careful of the pitfalls, because they'll try to assimilate you like most other group movements. Despite what they say, that's their ideal. But you'll find that very few people actually are free expressives. They're just they're hawking what everybody else is doing.
Yeah. I mean, everybody wants to be accepted somewhere too, right? And if you're an individual or you want to be an individual, you're going to follow individuals, and those that can really express themselves and not fall into a mold, they're going to have people that cling on to them and try to look and act like them. I mean, hardcore actually, there was a uniform for a while. You'd go to shows, everybody's dressed the same.
Ridiculous.
I was like, what is this?
Everyone's got camouflage short pants on, tennis shoes, socks, football jerseys. What happened to punk rock? This is like a stupid uniform at that.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things that I've had that's one of my great strengths, actually. I mean, I've been doing a lot of growing for the last 55 years. Still far from the man I want to be, and a lot of times I especially in retrospect, I can see how I mimicked others and modeled them and dressed, including of course dressing like them.
Yeah, I'm guilty of it.
But he sure is. But I also saw that in many ways that I passed it, and indeed when I used to sing for a punk band. I had a punk band. A lot of time, we were a lot of people didn't like us because of our messages, and which was I just expressed myself, and a lot of people weren't down with what I was saying. Indeed, I heard that we were blacklisted from a few places because we weren't PC enough. We weren't PC, and
I could see that.
yeah, and so to me, it was a feather in my cap. I'm not down with any social code other than treating people with decency and respect, and treat people equally. That's the code I'm down with. Any other social code that deviates that, well, make your case, because that's what I'm down with. And in punk rock, certainly is aggressive, like we mentioned earlier. But growing up, and especially as a young punk rocker, in varying levels of intensity, I saw how, the need to fit in, conform. Shut that dog up!
You could hear that? Damn, the door's closed.
I'm only kidding. Yeah, that's good.
That's great speakers right there.
So, how that people want to fit in. People have a need for approval. Is extremely common. So I recognize that, certainly. So what I would do to counter that was specifically, and right off the bat, go for your disapproval right off the bat. Instead of fuck approval, I'm going for your disapproval right off the bat. Now, as a punk rocker, it worked excellently. But some people got it. Most people did not. Just thought I was an asshole, and that was it. But it's so, as a punk rock thing, it was cool. As a social experiment, a psychological one, it was very invaluable to learn about the need for approval and conformity. But also, it's something that you shouldn't do because you're going to become ostracized, and people will avoid you, and so yeah, I have to get away from that. But
it's antisocial in a way.
It is, in a way, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's great. The thing to have in life is balance. On one hand, you shouldn't seek disapproval. On the other hand, you shouldn't seek approval either.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's the
key.
Yeah. The key is being in the middle. The key is expressing yourself honestly. Jesus Christ said, a man or woman must bring forth what is within him, or it will destroy him. Right? Keep that in mind, and at the same time, bear in mind that consideration for others is, well, you can say that you should have that, but going beyond the should, right? The social mandates. If you're really, there's two things to consider in life, basically speaking: yourself and everybody else.
Yeah.
It's always yourself and everybody else, right? Balance selfishness with altruism, or self-absorbed with consideration. Consideration, all right? That, because being a selfish prick, let me avoid the prick. Let me avoid the label. Being selfish, not only can it only get you so far, it so limits yourself. It so circumscribes yourself in what you can do and what you can be, that finding that out is really readily found. You'll find it pretty quickly that selfish is not the way to go. That's we are selfish, but we've got to balance it with some level of selfishness.
Right.
You know, you got to feel, you know, like a perfect example. Well, it's an example. You know, if you're in a plane and now they're having turbulence and the oxygen masks drop off, what do they tell you right off the bat? Give yourself oxygen first before you try to help anybody else. You know, you've got to have some strength before you can offer your strength to somebody else.
Absolutely.
So
Being selfish.
Go on.
Being selfish can totally cut down any alliances that you might have opportunities with, you know, to people that would empathize with you. They'd be like, ah, you know what, screw that guy. If he's like that, screw that guy or girl. If he's like that, I mean, and this might be the person you can make the mastermind with, you know?
Absolutely. All the opportunities you have lost are incredible. By the way, did you see what time I started? I didn't hit my timer on time.
I did not. I'd say we're at 8.
I would say we're at 8 minutes. So I'm going to make another timer, all right? Because this is a 30-minute podcast, all right?
Right.
What did I want to talk about? You know, I certainly we're going to do, our structure is we're going to talk about, Tommy will go into a Zen passage from the Tao Te Ching,
Right.
And I'll bring up a passage from this calendar.
Achieve your dream.
Achieve your dreams. We're still having these issues. We still haven't figured it out.
Hey, Zoom, get on that.
Okay, there it is. There it is.
Perfect.
And this one. I feel good about the podcast that we're finally doing it. You know, Tommy and I have been working on having this for a couple of months, since July, and now it's the end of September. But so it is great. We're starting our momentum finally.
Yes.
And how do you feel about it now that this? I asked Tommy how he felt about the premiere. How do you feel about now that this one, the second one?
Even better. I feel happy. I feel exhilarated.
You know, sometimes, you know, I said in a Facebook Live recently, because Tommy and I do Facebook Lives every morning. That's how this thing actually was spawned off of. It started off these Facebook Lives that I was doing, then Tommy loved it, and then I invited him on and he joined me. And that's a lot of fun. And we always wanted to make this podcast interactive, having a group dynamic, having a chat. But now that I saw the first one, I'm like, we may not do that. I mean, we haven't decided yet, but this is concentrated. This is a discourse. We can deliver all the information quickly. People's times are valuable, right? We can deliver it in 30 minutes as opposed to like an hour or twice the time. So it might be much more attractive to people, more valuable in delivering quick information more quickly. We may just keep it this way. We'll figure it out. What do you think about it so far, though, Tommy?
I love it like this. I do. I think we should try. We'll give it a shot. See.
We'll have to figure
what
it out.
It's like.
That was stopping us. We couldn't figure out how to do it. You know,
yeah.
It's complex. It's not easy. It's difficult. There's a number of moving parts, and it's technical to do it like we're having this joint screen and this joint party. We're not in the same city. We're in the same state, but we're on opposite sides of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the interaction really is great on one level. It's great on a number of levels, but it slows it down. And I think that, right now we're just talking about the podcast as opposed to delivering on the podcast. We're just slowing it down. But we're informing you about what's going on there behind the scenes, because why not make you privy to it? And you can comment on it. Please, I encourage you to comment on it. Just because we're not live doesn't mean you can't or shouldn't comment. Please, by all means, comment whatever you got to say, good, bad, or indifferent. I welcome it, and even criticism. I welcome criticism is good.
No, anything goes. Tell me how much of an asshole I am, how much you like me, or Tony.
Tell us how much of an asshole Tommy is. One of the things that we did in the previous video, I'm very playful. I found that I was, in my playfulness with Tommy, I was kind of abusive to him. And I was like, you know, I was a
Yeah.
little abusive to Tommy, man. He said, Tommy, you feel a little better? No, I'm kidding. So I'm like, next time I should abuse myself. I should self-deprecate and make Tommy
Yes.
miss him, right? And I'm gonna do that, okay? Because this to show you, it's not about my ego. It's about playfulness. So I'll bear that in mind when I play. I'll be the fall guy. I'll be the sucker. I'll
Okay.
self-deprecate. All right, Tommy, you
Yeah,
feel
because
good, baby? No, Tommy did not complain in any way. I'm just saying that's completely.
it's only the ego that gets offended, and I've transcended mine.
Absolutely. It is, you know, this is something that Tommy and I have spoken about a lot. You know, if I don't already respect you more than the normal respect that I give everybody, you're not going to offend me. Tommy's already talked about you. You know, you're not going to offend me. You can't offend me. You know, it's only your ego that can be offended. It's not to say that we don't have an ego. Certainly we do, but we have an understanding that everybody is entitled to their opinion, right, and their own beliefs and ideas. And why should I prohibit the expression of that because I may disagree with it?
Yeah.
Who am I? Oh, I
There's a little
got
too much of that going on in the world now.
Oh, totally. What is it? Oh, it's 100 other people that agree with me. So that means my opinion should dominate yours. I don't think so. I'm a believer.
Right.
I'm a believer in freedom, right? And free expression. Okay, so we'll talk more about some people would argue. Let's talk a little bit more about being offended.
Sure.
Some people think that okay, there's a morality. And certainly you can argue about, universal morality, but really morality is always a subjective thing. Everyone has their own moral compass, right? Now, and they are cultural and subjective and cultural, okay, which is a culture. A culture is a group subjectivity, right?
Right.
Right? And subjectivity is a personal one. So if a culture has values something in a positive or negative way, an individual may or may not conform to that, but all it is that person or that culture's moral compass or morality. What about outside that culture? Okay, now you're going to go and judge that culture or person from your standpoint, right? Who are you to judge them, right?
That sounds like what you would, that movie.
Well, which movie?
Silence.
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 Tommy and I were talking about this movie Silence that I just saw the other day. Where it was very poignant movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these Jesuit missionaries went to convert Japanese people, and the Japanese, powers that be weren't going to have it, and they clamped down on it brutally. And I said that I didn't blame the Japanese at all. I didn't like the brutality of it, but it was their prerogative and their duty to defend their country.
Absolutely.
But that's an extreme thing. They were brutal. And I'm just talking about being offended. Okay?
Trying to preserve their culture, man.
And that's a person's prerogative, right?
Exactly.
Or a group's prerogative. If a person wants to preserve their cultural, maybe that they inherited from their ancestors, that's their prerogative. Indeed, I feel negligent when I think about my Italian grandparents, how they came over from Italy and they had all these cultural Italian things that they did, like all homemade food, for example, and religious observance and convening of family and holidays. That stuff's all gone. It's all it's all artifact now. It's it's just incredible, man. What a disgrace, and at least in relation to them. But focusing on being offended, if I'm offended from something, so what? Does that make me right? Does that make me right? Does that make me wrong? What is right or wrong? Who is right or wrong? Who's right? We all want to be right. So it's being offended is often used as a tool, and often very unfairly. But of course, we should always treat people decently because that's the way you'd like to be treated, right?
Right. That's the balance. be able to speak your mind, but respect others.
Absolutely.
Now, of course, that comes into conflict, right? And we're seeing a lot of that.
Well, the golden rule is to treat people like you want to be treated, but the platinum rule is to treat people like they want to be treated. However, when people, there are some people that really want to control you, and if you let them, that's
Right.
exactly what they'll do. So now you got to find the balance between being considerate and polite and being controlled.
Yeah, that's it. That's the key, the ticket right there. Yep.
And you can know. So when someone's controlling you or attempting to by your feelings, you'll feel it inside. Because when someone's trying to make you do something you don't want to do, you'll feel it in your body. That's
right.
Manipulation. You'll feel it. Oh, that means you're having an incongruence of values.
This is very controversial right now, or I don't know. It seemed like it was, but Jimmy Kimmel was kind of forced to enunciate and scream louder that Black Lives Mattered by Anthony Anderson, a black actor, at the Emmys. And I was just looking at it and I was like, what the fuck? What's going on here? You know what I mean?
Now let's talk about control. Talk about
yeah. I mean, you can't make the guy care. You know what I mean? This is obviously somebody that is bought, by the nature of his job. He's a guy that's owned by these, corporations or networks. And then, you're at this. I thought it was a bit at first when I saw it, and then I was like, wow, this is just. It's a lot of things going on in this country that. That this podcast isn't even about. It's just, it was relevant to what we were talking about, and I just wanted to bring it up.
All right, yeah. Let's see if I can put a cork in that. Let's say, I think that everyone should stand up for what they believe is right. Everyone,
right.
Every person. It's not for me to tell you what's right, and it's not for you to tell me what's right.
Exactly.
Right? I'm going to express myself, and you should do the same. Okay. Are you good with that, Tommy?
I'm done with that.
Okay.
I don't like to even touch on this stuff, but.
Okay. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to pick a passage from this box, this obsolete calendar, whose knowledge is as applicable as ever. I'll speak on it for like 5 minutes. We'll discourse on it for like 5 minutes. And then Tommy will go into the Tao Te Ching.
Yes.
All right, so here we go. Here it is. The first one. It's a nice picture. Oh, of a skydiver. I used to be a paratrooper, and I was in a skydiving club. This is an awesome thing to do, man. And it was one of the things that my company, when we get going, we're going to promote skydiving to the employees. Sounds crazy, but there's a reason for it.
Have a couple of more in store then, ready to take their position.
Yeah, in case some of the guys don't make it.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. It's really excellent picture.
Nice.
It's floating. It's like flying. Because how many times have you dreamt of flying? This is like flying, but you're actually falling quite quickly, but not as quickly as you would without the parachute. That's the thing.
Right.
Okay, so here we go. Out of the clutter of details, find simplicity and focus.
Wow.
And this, we've spoken about this numerous times on the Facebook Lives. How that the world is a world of chaos. And what it is you and everybody else are agents of themselves. Even now, Tommy and I have a collaboration. We have a mastermind. We have a loose partnership. We don't have a formal agreement, but we have a partnership of sorts. Even this, Tommy is his own agent. I'm my own agent, right? And everybody is looking out for themselves, and not in a way that's pathological or nefarious, but out of necessity. And even then you can go beyond necessity into selfishness and self-absorption. But it's everyone's trying to make the best for themselves, and there's nothing indictable about it. But that creates a world of chaos. Everybody's
Sure
bumping
does.
into each other, right? This is what I want. This is my agenda. This is my agenda. You know, he just actually touched on it on the what he just talked about, right? It's all chaos, but what governs it? Laws, right?
Yeah.
Laws of physics in the natural world, laws of success, and other laws. And these laws are always in place. Doesn't matter that we can't see them. It doesn't matter we don't see them being enforced, if you will. We see them being enforced, but no one's going to prison necessarily for them, unless they're breaking criminal laws, right? But their law, and these laws are always in play. And the more that we understand, learn, and abide by the laws, the more traction we get in the world, and the better off we are in the world. And you can, and what's the signal for that? Your own feelings. You'll feel, you know, your own feelings will tell you how you're doing. Basically speaking, your negative feelings tells you you're breaking the laws, or you're oblivious to the laws. When you have good feelings, feelings of rapport and other positive feelings, those suggest that you're doing the opposite. You're in congruence with the laws, right? Laws of success, like for example, law of expectation, which states that whatever you believe in confidently becomes your own self-fulfilling prophecy. So you're seeing good things that you wanted, and you feel good about that. Great, you made that happen, but as opposed to because you deliberately did that, as opposed to you having all this shit going on. You're like, why? Oh my God, it sucks. But you didn't realize it, but it sucked. You're the one who made that happen. You made this suck city. So
Yeah.
you're ignorant of the law. You now is your opportunity to wake up and learn the law and go from ignorance to knowledge, or to stay ignorant and continue. So it's always
You could make something suck even more just with your attitude towards it too. That's called suffering. Something can suck and totally be in your way or an obstacle, and it sucks. But then this thing is gonna really suck if you continue to say, what, like you just said, oh, what the fuck, and oh, this is such a problem, man. Instead of adopting an attitude of, well, what can I do? How can I get over this? And if I can't, how can I accept this?
the only thing in your control is your own attitude, and that right there. He just described two different attitudes, basically bipolar attitudes.
Man.
And my mentor Rex Sykes taught me celebrate everything. So if you can celebrate Suck City, now you have so much more power to change it, as opposed to continuing being a victim. And not to mention the negative feelings that you would feel in Suck City. But if you can celebrate when it's Suck City, now you're starting to generate positive feelings. That gives you more power and makes things more pleasant for you.
Embrace the suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Military term right there.
If things become dark, become one with the darkness, and then when the light comes, you can be out in the light too. But this way you don't fear the darkness. You can become one with it. But I'll continue with the passage. Out of the clutter of details, find simplicity and focus. So all this chaos is going on. Narrow it down by this is the recurring stuff for us, because it's so important. What's the change that what are your values, right? That's the goal you've got, right? Is your values. But what's the change you want to see in the world? That's where you should be looking. Okay, because you have inspirations, you have aspirations, great. But what's the change you want to see in the world? Take your qualities, your strengths, right? And direct them there. Start focusing them toward the change you want to see in the world. Or if that's too much for you right now, here's our face. Then go for something that you want to create that really gives you juice. Okay, like, wow, this would be great to create this. Because that's the kind of stuff you want to focus on. You don't want to focus on stuff that's going to be laborious for you. You want to focus on stuff that you want to do. That is
passion.
Right. Oh, when you're like that, then you're kicking ass. It's when you get depressed is when you're doing the opposite. When you're doing shit you don't want to do. Right.
Yeah.
When you feel like you're wasting your time. Right. That's when you.
I might be making money, but I'm wasting my time. This job sucks.
Right. Hey, everyone wants to pay bills, but no one wants to be in a job that sucks unless they have no job. Then you think, wow, a job that sucks would be better than no job. Yes, but once you have a job that sucks, oh wow, it's too damn, I wish I had a job that I liked.
Yeah, it's
great.
yeah.
And that's a great way to get out of it. Life is, crawl before you walk, or before you run. And focus. Focus is where it's at. Focus is what makes it happen. And if you don't focus, then you're gonna be doomed to work for those who can focus. You've got to focus in order to make things happen. That's just how it is. And I tell you, I'm a guy who strived for that for a long time. And the more success I have, the more I learn how to do it. The more I've learned how to do it. And it's not easy because there's so many distractions. But you've got to eliminate those distractions as best you can. You got anything more on that, Tommy?
I just want to mention there's a movie called American Loser, and I've mentioned it before. It's with Sean William Scott from the American Pie movies, Stifler, and he plays this guy that is he's just having all these problems. He's an alcoholic. He's got learning disabilities, dyslexia, and the opening line to the movie is.
You. Are you sure you're not telling me your bio?
Let me tell you something. I identified with this movie in certain ways. The opening line.
How long ago did you see the movie?
I own it, but I saw it probably like 2014, and I was like, gotta get this movie.
Okay, all right.
And the opening line to the movie is, "Me and Details went to war with each other in my childhood," and then after that, it's just this. Oh man, the movie's amazing.
American Loser?
Yeah, American Loser. And it's based on a real guy. And he's now a comedian. He found a way to turn all of his pain and disabilities and all of his problems into comedy by self-deprecation. So it was amazing.
I was waiting for your point, and there you go. That's it. Whatever, it's cliche, but turn your lemons into lemonade. That's one of my messages. Whatever you got, use. Whatever it is. I don't care what it is. If you got it, you can use it. All right? And if you can't use it, get rid of it. All right? But find a use for it, man. We have so many resources, internal and external. You can use them. Find a way, man. These are all there. They all have value if you can find it. But, great stuff. So, by the way, on the back of this, I have stuff that's written because I've had this since '99.
Oh, wow. What's it say?
They're all slashed out. Practice, habits, future, create, change, future habits, and then some letter codes. I don't know what it's for, but it's crossed out. So that makes that's good.
It's done.
That means thank you. It's done. And that's very important to do that. It's very important.
You got it done.
Do things, see things through, label things, when you organize or email or whatever. And to see things through. So I'm gonna burn it, which is like my little ritual here. Burn it into your psyche.
What, you're gonna find that you're gonna need that number code tonight.
I won't find that out. And now I got a new tin. You say you got a new tin for burning this stuff. It's really cool. It's a tea tin. There we go. There you go.
Nice. What happened to your pot?
The clay pot's in the living room. That's for our morning videos. Our podcast gets this cool tea, Lipton's tea tin, which I dug out.
Fascinating.
Talking about finding use for it. I was clean. I'm like, I gotta use this or throw it out. And like, now I need I need a new receptacle for my office podcast. And I dug this out. I didn't throw it out. I had the luxury, I had the privilege, and of having a garage. And so I could have it. A lot of people don't have that. So I'm very fortunate and grateful for it. But I was able to do it, and I'm using it as an example. Okay, Tommy, you ready for the Zen time?
Yes, the Tao.
The Tao. Okay, so we did the first passage in our premiere, and now Tommy will read the second passage.
This is the second entry in the Tao. Here we go. When all the world recognizes beauty as beauty, this in itself is ugliness. When all the world recognizes good as good, this in itself is evil. Indeed, the hidden and the manifest give birth to each other. Difficult and easy complement each other. Long and short exhibit each other. High and low set measures to each other. Voice and sound harmonize each other. Back and front follow each other. Therefore, the sage manages his affairs without ado, and spreads his teaching without talking. He denies nothing to the teeming things. He rears them, but lays no claim to them. He does his work, but sets no store by it. He accomplishes his task, but does not dwell upon it. And yet, it is just because he does not dwell on it that nobody can ever take it away from him. Wow.
I almost felt like crying a few times, and it was so much there too, man. God, we could talk about that for hours.
Right.
Man, but wow. But just talk about the first part, and and there's the stuff that we talked about earlier touches on that, about wanting approval, and what the crowd are doing. What the crowd are doing is not the right thing at all. It's just what the crowd is doing. And I contend that what the crowd are doing is much more probably the wrong thing, to use these terms of right and wrong, which are not the best ones. Okay.
Right.
That people are given to follow trends. Okay. They're given to collectivize.
Which usually is orchestrated by money. There's usually
power,
finances that drive these trends and these things, because they can be mass produced and they can be sold easily, and that's what makes a lot of things popular, is its cheap appeal.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely,
it's
the appeal of things, and the appeal of things can be just like Tommy talked about, driven by money, or also marketing, or something as really of not high substance. It's something that's petty or base even. All right. So that's why you have to go by your own moral compass. You cannot trust the moral compass of others. You can easily be misguided and corralled to going where you don't want to go if you can make the choice freely.
Yeah.
And just like Lao Tzu is the author of this book that Tommy just read from, and this is considered what is this poem considered the beginning of Zen? No,
this is
Buddhism.
No, this isn't Buddhism. It's Taoism. It's his own philosophy. Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry, Taoism, right?
Taoism. Which a lot of martial arts is actually based on this.
Yeah, I practice Jeet Kune Do, and the book that I read from is called The Tao of Jeet Kune Do, the way.
Yeah.
Written by Buddha.
This is great. I mean, when all the world recognizes beauty as beauty, that in itself is ugly. It's like when everyone's on the same page and there's no opposing force. What is that? You know what I mean? It's
listen, it's not just to be a contrarian. I like being a contrarian more for fun than anything, because to be a contrarian for its own sake is like immature. It's
like a brat. Yeah,
immature. But that said, there's a caveat, which is to be exactly what Tommy just read and spoke about, and what we spoke about here, is beware of the masses, because they want to assimilate you. That's what the masses want. They redeem themselves by your assimilation.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make them upright or right. That just make them the masses. That's all they can eat. The Nazis, to use an extreme example, swept to power. Were the Nazis right? Communists, right? Those are these political examples. But anything else? That's why you have to develop your own moral code. You can't. If you follow the moral code of the masses, you're just a sheep, a cattle that is going to be exploited, instead of someone who stands upright with their own spine, having rigidity and being flexible, because you've got to be able to go with the flow in life. Absolutely. It's not just all about you. There's the self and there's the others, right? There's about the individual and being a team, or being a part of a community. They're both equally important. One is not more important than the other. Why? I might say that being individual is more important. That's my American culture. In Japan, they would say the opposite. But either way, I definitely contend that both are extremely important. Right?
Yeah.
One should not overshadow the other.
It's like, if like I say everybody on the same page, meaning like, oh, if we all could just get along, like that's not harmony. Harmony means balance. Balance of one, good and evil. We're always going to have evil. We're always going to have chaos. What's good? If we didn't have that, then what would we strive to work for?
Well, it's
We're never going to be perfect.
The world is as it is. That's so.
Yeah.
And we know it's perfect because that's how it is.
Yeah.
If you can accept that, you can stop fighting it per se, and then seek more specific winnable battles.
Yeah.
Right.
We suffer because we try to make it perfect, but not realizing it's in balance. It needs the chaos.
You hit the nail on the head, man. That accepting the world as it is, which is intrinsically unjust, was a major milestone in my life. And that's to say that I like it. I like the world because I'm grateful for it and to be in it. But I do not like the injustice of it, or its unjust nature. But as it's given by God, all right, I say that totally non-religiously, it's perfect. And I do seek to bring much greater justice in the world. I do, while still loving the world as it is. And when I got to that point, it was a major shift. It was a paradigm shift because I saw all this injustice in the world, not even realizing that I was a major part of it. In terms of being a person who is blinded by his own ego. My own ego is base. I want things more. I just, don't get me wrong. I'm not indicting myself or any other person because of the fact that we have all these egos. We need these egos. That's who we are. It's our identities. But we're more than that. And the ego, wants to really. The ego needs to be balanced. All right, it needs to be balanced by the soul. The ego is fine, but it needs balanced by the soul.
Oh, absolutely.
And we need that. We need that because otherwise we get, to go into those other extreme political examples. We get into Hitlerian situations or Stalinistic situations. Well, my way is my way. I have no compassion or mercy because how dare you defy me?
Scary.
Right, and those are obviously extreme political examples. But think about that in your own, scope that down to your own personal life, where you don't have mercy for those who disagree with you. How dare you dissent from my opinion, evil moron?
Moron.
Right?
Fool. What a fool.
Right? So you just scope down. It's the same thing. You don't have mercy for people who are different from you, and so you can attack them with words. And those people are the same things. They have power. They attack them by extinguishing their lives. But what's the difference? It's just the level of power. That's the only real difference.
Genocide.
Right. But getting back to the reading, there was so much of it. You
want me to read some again, or?
Yeah, there were like 20 points. Or like 10 points. It was just read one or two others.
Sure. Let's see.
Not the first.
It's basically he's making the same point, but he's using a lot of examples. Difficult and easy complement each other. Long and short, high and low, voice and sound.
We
back and front.
A little bit in the first one, because we talked about opposites are necessary for each other's existence. Go on.
Right. And then in the latter part of the teaching, it says, therefore the sage manages his affairs without ado, spreads his teaching without talking. That's, live by example. I get out of that. Denies nothing to the teeming things. Teeming. I think that means to be like full of, or I didn't exactly get that. Let me look that up for a moment.
And one of the things also that I get from this reading is that you and I, as you know, if we've taken it upon ourselves the responsibility of making this video, so that we now have to go to the next standard for ourselves, me personally, individually, and you as well. You know, if we're gonna have credibility, we've got to walk the walk a little bit more.
Evolve.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I declare I will never ever make another sin for the rest of my life. I am now sin free.
Sin.
I will never have another sin.
According to whose standards? It says to be full of swarming with. To be full or swarming with. Every garden is teeming with wildlife.
Yeah, so I knew that, but I didn't see that. I didn't understand the context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he denies nothing to the teeming things. He rears them, but lays no claim to them. He does his work, but sets no store by it. He accomplishes his task, but does not dwell upon it. And yet, it is just because he does not dwell on it that nobody can ever take it away from him. Lao Tzu, man.
Well, you know, I want to keep this video short. We've talked about it. We talked about some of it. Certainly, we broke down some of it. Great stuff. Any more?
Yeah.
Let's do our own deliberation, our own time. That goes from us and you, the viewer or watcher. You know, we've introduced it to you if you never heard it before, or if you have, it's a review. You know, there's a lot of value in all that. Take with it, you know, digest it. Let the seed germinate. Another great video. We've come to the end. I think we're about 35 minutes, maybe longer, whatever.
Yeah.
But, we did it again, bro. It's a video and the audio, guys. Yeah, because a lot of people will just be hearing this and they won't be seeing this. But this is also, you can see us on YouTube. This is on a YouTube, goes on our YouTube channel, but we're gonna put more. This will be more widely available just in the audio format. Well, they're both easily accessible. Tommy, that's number 2 in the bucket, bro. We got it done in the can.
Oh, congratulations. I'm loving it.
Much love, bro. Great stuff.
Much love.
Anna, I'm so happy to be doing this with you.
You too.
It's fun.
Monday, Wednesday, Fridays.
Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And it's helping me get to the next level too. And I'm delighted that we could do this and hopefully help at least one person. If we're helping at least one person, we're kicking ass, man. We're doing great. And if we help 2, wow. Let's see.
We're saints.
Now, if we help millions, millions of saints. The 1 2, not bad. Millions. Okay, Tommy, you're the man. I love you, bro. Great stuff.
Love you too. Talk to you soon.